We have updates in the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect as the FBI has now released a photo. I'm going to share this, then what President Trump has had to say, and more of the conversation around yesterday's horrible events. See person of interest in the shooting. There it is. The feds just released an image of a person of interest in the Charlie Kirk shooting. FBI says we are asking for the public's help identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Again, there's not too much there. It might be enough for somebody to identify him. Of course, this is kind of how they found Luigi off of, grainy images like this. They've sort of mapped out exactly the path they believe he took. As far as we know right now, they found what they believe to be the weapon in the woods nearby as he fled on foot, a rifle. FBI Salt Lake City released 2 still images Thursday showing a white man in a black long-sleeve shirt and jeans wearing a hat and dark sunglasses. The man's shirt appears to have American flag imagery. One image looks like he's climbing a set of stairs. So it's probably obvious he's not wearing the same clothes right now, but it's a national manhunt. Here's what President Trump had to say. There's also people discussing that Trump's post yesterday was artificial intelligence. I don't know this to be true. It could have just been glitches in whatever software they were using to export his message. Stroke is trending right now on Twitter because of a photo today of Trump at the 9/11 memorial had his face sagging on one side. I honestly don't know. So I'm not here to report on all of that news. But here he is today speaking out about Charlie Kirk, saying he will receive America's highest civilian honor.
Again, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big.
There it is. There's your update from him. Not as much violent rhetoric as yesterday's. And by the way, I think this morning I covered this in a 37-minute video. I discuss Trump and why I thought his initial response just sowed more division. And I've had folks say, "Well, was he lying? I don't understand." And I think you have to understand this. We have now gotten rid of the time when the president was supposed to be a calming force. He was supposed to be, he or she, really, it doesn't matter. So this person's always been a male, but doesn't have to be. This person needs to be someone who unites the majority, because I think we all can agree, at least you would think we could agree, that the majority of people don't believe in assassination. Sure, will you find people online cheering Charlie Kirk's death? Yeah, you will. You will find that online. And I spent the pretty much whole morning episode with my thesis that social media elevates and magnifies voices of the minority in ways that is problematic, because it's those voices that are disruptive, that are not unifying, that want more division. If it bleeds, it leads. And that you're seeing news organizations do that now in ways that they used to not do it. The best response I've seen so far is James Talarico. Now, he's a Democrat. He's a progressive in Texas. He's a multi-generational Texan. His father was a Baptist preacher, or his grandfather was. He speaks about Christ in a way that I think is more relatable to what Jesus Christ's message actually was, which is that of love and compassion for your neighbor, not whether or not they're a legal immigrant or illegal, not whether or not their job gives them health care or not. He speaks about the humanity that we see that is so lost in today's world. He doesn't do it with cue cards. He does it from the heart. I wanted to share his message and just remind people that this is the type of message we should be getting from our president, not the far left lunatics. And by the way, for those, there is a far left, there is a far right. They do exist. But Trump has not just said this is a far left lunatic. Whether they're far left or far right, I don't know. Are they a lunatic? Absolutely. But Trump has also said that about his political enemies, those that he's running for office against. So if you're going to equate a assassin to a political enemy and call them both radical left lunatics, you have to understand what the problem is there. The problem is you're essentially calling your political foes in the Democratic Party terrorists. And when you're dealing with terrorists, you might strip away the rights that you would give a normal citizen, right? That's what they've done with people that have spoken their opinion. These thoughts are committing terror. And if you say thoughts are terror or words are terror, you're equating actual violence to spoken thoughts, and that takes away the First Amendment. And that's dangerous. And Charlie Kirk didn't want that, right? He wanted everyone to have the conversation. And I understand people that thought his conversation was violent in nature because of the vitriol he spewed. But there is a difference between pulling the trigger and saying you don't believe in something, or you value one person's rights over another. There is a difference between your spoken opinion and the actual violence. And we need a president in leadership who brings the majority together for what is good for our country, not divides and say, see, because this happened, half the country's bad. And you might argue, yeah, but the left has been calling the right Nazis and this and that. Listen, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. At what point will we come together and realize most of us, the majority of our country, somewhere in the middle class, all want the same thing? Here's James Talarico.
Earlier today, Republican activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. I disagreed with Charlie Kirk on almost every political issue, but Charlie Kirk was a child of God. He was our sibling, our brother. He was a human being endowed with infinite worth and entitled to unconditional love. Now his wife is left without a husband, and his children are left without a father. This latest political assassination comes just 3 months after the Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota State House was shot and killed in her home. Political violence has no place in America. My faith, the faith I shared with Charlie Kirk, teaches me to love my neighbors as myself. Not just my neighbors who look like me, or pray like me, or vote like me. I am tired of being pitted against my neighbor. I am tired of being told to hate my neighbor. People across the political spectrum in this state and in this country are hungry for a different kind of politics. Not a politics of fear, not a politics of hate, not a politics of violence, but a politics of love.
You might be looking at a presidential candidate from 2036 if you can look into the future. He's running for Senate right now. You might say now's not a time to politicize what happened. If you're looking at this from a political lens, I think you're not doing justice to the conversation that needs to happen, which is there's a cabinet full of billionaires. There is a billionaire president. There are moves being made to cut taxes on the ultra wealthy, take money away from Medicaid and food stamps and all the things that people have relied on, including all the farmers that are going bankrupt and losing their farms because they've lost contracts that helped out them through subsidies. This social fabric that helps out the single mom in inner city Chicago that's also helping the dad trying to plow his cornfields. This same infrastructure that exists is at a threat. And James Talarico, he's willing to say, the God that I worship, the Jesus Christ that I speak of, says we love each other like ourselves. And we can't do that if we're not treating each other with the same value and love we treat ourselves. It's something worth listening to and really, really taking a moment to digest. Because of the sound of his voice, his Texas twang, because of the color of his skin and the well-coiffed hair, this message will resonate in ways you might not agree with, if someone like AOC said it. And I think that's a powerful thing, to have a messenger that can speak to a population that's not coming from woke ideology, that's not coming from, paid for by the deep state. It's just a man who believes what he's saying, a former educator who continues to fall up the ladder through the real pushing of his constituents. They said, we don't care if you want to be president. We don't care if you want this. We need your voice at a higher level. His audience continues to increase, over 1 million followers, and it's just beginning. He rocked the nation when he spoke on Joe Rogan. He continues to work across the aisle and get respect from people that have different letters attached to their political ideology than him. And I'm telling you right now, if you, in a nation that's majority Christian, want to lean on Christian teachings, don't be divided by fear, by hate. Find those, support those, and consume those that are leading with love. That's quite literally the only way we begin to overcome the divide in our giant family, this country. We'll be back in the morning. If you want more content that involves pop culture, politics, everything, we continue to try to thread the needle, tough conversations to have. But I appreciate you guys and all the support you've given me as we try to work through it all. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.